Good evening. There we go. All right, let me get this off my head. All right, bring this bad boy over here. Little notchy up, little notchy up. Sorry. I do enjoy a good baiter. Sorry. Yule time fire. It's expensive, but you know, you gotta make memories. All right, let us begin. So I have done a ton of stuff since the last time. A lot of really cool shit. So modding I've got working really well. I've built a really nice mod manager interface, so I'm gonna go ahead and play here. So I've got modding end to end, you know, fully featured out. Let me do this just to simulate more mods are installed. Mod browser, mod list, scroll view. You know what to do. So here's a bunch of mods that you've got installed. You click on one, its details are going to come up. These are just some dummy text I put in here. I need to put a content sizer on this guy. But here, the mod isn't loaded yet. Now I need to make it an indication somewhere on here that it's loaded or it's not. But I'm going to go ahead and hit load. And what the really cool thing about the mod manager is, I actually let you see the contents of the mod. So right here, I got the README, I got the prefabs, I got materials, mod scene. So if there's a scene in the mod, you can load it and switch scenes, or you can hit add, and we'll add it to your we'll additively load it. So if I hit like add right now, oh, not untype. I gotta fix that. Let me do that actually. But here's the author information, the mod version, the UMod version that it was built with, and the Unity version it was built with. Because if you notice these ones here, the 2019s, I can't actually load these guys up. So, but I took all the contents of the 2019s and dumped them in this guy. So. But anyway, so let's grab the mod spawner. Yeah. We're going to hit load. See, now it's in the scene. There it is right there. And what it does is whenever you hit the space bar, it starts adding cylinders all over the level randomly. You can see them here. That's the mod. But it is not code or assets or scripts that was part of the main game. So now that I've got UMod fully set up like this, all the levels and shit are going to be built in external projects. Every level will have its own Unity project, and a level will be a mod that is added when it's needed. You know. That way the build size stays small and the bloat of this project stays tiny, and I don't have a ton of assets in here bloating things up for when I'm testing just core features. But when I want to test at full level, I'll just load it through the mod loader, and that way under the hood, the UMod is working with Unity addressables, so it's just, you know, it's totally valid to stream or load up, you know, content for the main game through the modding system. It's a completely valid strategy, and that's what sort of addressables is there to address. Instead of having to load the entire game at the start, and it takes, you know, makes it to where the start of your game takes forever, and that can kind of ding you on reviews and approvals and stuff for different consoles or wherever you're trying to deploy. But now it just boots up straight to the start menu. Everything's fast because there's nothing in memory. There's no need for any of the assets yet, so they have not even been loaded into memory. Now, when you hit start game and you create, it's going to stream, it's going to load in that scene and blah, 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 but it only loads in what it needs and it can unload it. So the memory profile in the game can stay light. And yeah, this is going to be one of the most modifiable games ever. I'm building it with modding at the forefront of the design concepts as I go forward now. And I'm going to be rewriting or just re-implementing some things in the old systems to support the modding now. So like the unit, right? He has his scripts, or his script here. He's got a bunch of events that you can subscribe to. There's what? Like 9 events, 10 events are there. So anyone that subscribes to this, so let's do this, like find all references. So right here, the action point UI system or script, subscribe to this, but it didn't have any concept of unit. It doesn't need, if it wasn't for the events right now that you're looking at, that they're wired up to, these 2 lines, 15, 16, this class could be very isolated and modular and not care about these, or even if they exist, right? If these are what kind of link these things together, and also me using this unit is a fair game for use across the entire game because it represents the core playable character or AI character. So having this accessible everywhere, everything you need to know about this, that's okay. This too, honestly, I'm okay with that. But because I'm now implementing modding in the game, I want to get away from, I need to share these classes out to the modders. If I want them to have access to this stuff now, I got to share these individual classes out. And I would like to keep the core game kind of abstract it from the modders. So this is right here, it kind of outlines how the modding system works. So on start, if you have mods that are enabled from last time you were playing, it's going to load up all your enabled mods. I'll actually delay this till after you get to the start menu to when you start the game. That way there's no performance hit or delay if you got like 400 mods and you start the game. Instead of loading them all right there, what I could do is actually just kick this off async. No, because I can't, if it's still not done and they continue on, I don't want, no, not async. Oh, let me fix this here. So we're gonna, no, it's irrelevant. I'm not fixing it. Anyways, this will happen. If you have mods enabled, there'll be a point sometime in the start menu area where they get loaded up. Now, if you go from the start menu, and this is the only way you can get there is to the mod browser. Well, right now I've got where mod browser can run in anywhere, and it's able to load and unload mods anywhere in the video game, any scene. I'm thinking about that design wise, and if I would love it to be able to have on the fly mod loading and unloading, but it introduces a ton of caveats because say you unload a dependency, a mod that other mods are dependent on, it's going to break all the mods in the current scene unless I introduce some kind of dependency. Any time you delete a mod, it will prompt you and say, hey, I'm also going to delete these because they will break without it, or I don't know, it'll warn you about it maybe. Anyways, back to this. So you hit the mod browser, you manage to load your mods, and then once that's done, it's going to load the mods and then circle back to the start menu, and then you can load game. Actually, let's do this. Load start. All right. So now you got into the game. The mods are loaded because even if you didn't go into the mod browser, if you had mods from previously, they're loaded by the time we get here. So I never have to, none of my code past this point has to worry about if mods are loaded, if the mods are loaded up. If it doesn't, for some reason, find something past this point, it wasn't loaded or something happened or whatever. But at this point, every mod should be loaded. And then, so now we kind of got the main game going on. So this mod implements iLevel editor, and iLevel editor implements the place block method right here. The mod class, well, let's step back one time. So between these two, I can't wire up to events. Scripts in here can't wire up to events or scripts over here and vice versa, because they're technically in two domains. So like my mod scripts are executing in their mod domain or their app domain, and the main game thread scripts are in the app domain. Now, when the mod's doing its thing, yeah, the scripts are running and everything's working together, but it gets tricky. Like I can't have a script in here. Well, I'm still figuring this out. But anyways, so there's two ways that I can communicate. There's generic communication, where I will use reflection, and I will know about methods that can be called, and I would use reflection to call methods or attempt to call methods in the mods. If they exist, I call them. If not, but I have, that way there's no strict interface, there's no one talking, there's no communication, it's just generic. I'm talking back and forth. I have to document all these like methods that you could call using reflection and save call, because you would use a string of the method's name. So I'd probably have a enum or some shit that would, map functions, but that's a lot of work, maintenance, and I got to update modders, and I got to inform them about that. And it's just a generic, non-binding communication between the mod and the main game. I don't like that approach. So what I have done is I've implemented a third library, or an assembly, a modding assembly. I call it modding framework for right now. And it is the way the main game thread and the mod are able to communicate and have strict, safe typecasting and everything. I can reliably know, because the mod will implement the interfaces in here, and then I can just load that mod scripts assembly, and then I can trust that I can cast it to this interface, and I can call the methods that are implemented in this interface in the main thread. So now I have communication both ways. They both can communicate via these interfaces, and yeah, and it's very nice. It's type safe. I don't have to know, there's no magical strings, there's no like, no updating modders on everything. It's just we share this, and this is how we talk, and it's beautiful. So the way I accomplish that with Unity is I have a separate C# project that's just a class library, a .NET 3.5, .NET Framework 3.5 class library. I'm pretty sure it has to be. And it has these interfaces in here, and that's it for right now. Now I'm thinking about sharing models, or just classes that are just POCOs, or just basic information classes that the modders may need to be able to instantiate or know about. So I can share interfaces and models, possibly some C# logic in here between the two. Not possibly, totally can. But anything in here is accessible to both guys. I forgot. I doubt this. So I started to implement mod script. Is that me? Yeah. So I was like, oh, I'm brilliant. I'll just basically create a wrapper or like make it to where they can implement all the Unity methods or whatnot, blah, 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 blah. So I started to create an interface for scripts to use to back in the main game, but I don't have to do any of that. And it's been done more in a more clean way. Um, so I'm very excited. I'll show you that in a minute. Anyways, to get back here. So these two talk-through interfaces. The mod has some logic that allows it to place blocks. It's going to attempt to make a call to place block via that interface, iLevel editor. Now, in the actual interface, well, so here's the mod project that's implementing that. So if I go to scripts, I think it's this guy. iTest interface, yeah, okay. That's not what I want. Is it? Yes, it is. Hold on just a sec, sorry. All right, so this is the mod. This is level interface? Oh, I'm sorry. That's spawner test. Do I got another script? This is it right here. All right. So with this test interface class, I'm going to rename that. Well, no, whatever. It has references to the current interfaces. So iLevel editor, and it implements block, right? So this thing is implementing block. And so it's actually, if you notice here, it's just logging that it's placed the block, and then it fires off this event right here. It doesn't actually place a block. No block placing logic here. All it does is pass the coordinate, the block ID, logs it, and then fires off this event. That's what happens in the mod side. So if I played this right now, I mean, the event would fire off, but nobody's wired up to it. So this is like this is basically, we're designing a modder is trying to use the place block iLevel interface method. So this is how they implement it. Where is their prefab? Spawner. It's this interface tester 4000 max edition script. I'm gonna do that with a lot of my shit. I'm gonna be like 4000 or max edition, like I don't know, the mod interface. I think I'm gonna name it or change this to mod manager 4000 or like 6000. I don't know, some stupid names for stupid stuff for no reason. So anyways, this is a prefab I've created in the mod project. I think a way for you guys to know that we're in the mod project is I'm going to put this right here. If you see this star, orange star, you know, actually, and I'm going to actually change the colors, grid, this helped me too. Editor, play mode tint. Scene background, UI. I can't change the core color. Center access, grid, UI, volume gizmo, wireframe. Fail render. I guess not. Whatever. Look for the star. This will let you know. Anyways, so we're in the mod project. I've created this prefab. It's inside of the mod folder. So everything inside of here will be packed up into your mod. So you're a modder. You open up Unity. You import my Unity package for my mod tools. You then, actually, right now, this doesn't come with the mod tools, but this will become part of the mod tools. So you get the assembly needed to talk between the game and the mods. You get all my mod tools, so like all the scripts and stuff I'm going to expose to you here. And then there's going to be these things called shared resources or assets. And these are going to be assets that I can share with the modders. But I don't want in their Unity project, or I don't want them to have access to the files directly. So I will share those from the main project as a shared asset. So if we come game assets right here, if I had shared any assets like that, they'd be here, and you couldn't like edit them like you would a normal asset, but modders can have access to them. Now, say it's a house in here. I've shared a house. They drop the house in their scene. They export their whole level and their scene. And they don't have the actual house in their project. It's in the main project, but when their mod's packed up and comes back, I automatically know that that house is from a shared resource or asset, and it's used. So there's gonna be a whole plethora of stuff here that I'm gonna share with modders as the default, like 3D models, a lot of the cool thing about this, like why go through the trouble of this at all, just share the stuff with them, is I can share Unity assets from the asset store, the stuff that I've purchased, like licensed stuff that I use. I can share those things with the modders through this interface, because they don't have access to the raw files or any of the actual assets files. They just have this compiled down binary, ability way to use those things in their project. They don't have actual ways to look at them, edit them. Like, they can't make any changes to prefabs that are shared through here. They can't do shit with them. They would have to request or point out stuff, and I would update their shared assets and redeploy the mod tools. So yeah, that's how that's going to work. But anyways, so modders would start a new Unity project. They would implement the mod tools, and they're on the ground running. So right here, let's open up this scene. Cancel. Let's do this. Something small. It's gonna be big. City, office, and police station pack. 1 gig. No. Maybe something tiny. 5 megabytes. Yeah, let's do that. This is a nice little pack. So what I'm doing here is since I'm logged into this Unity interface, even though this is my mod project, so this is me acting as a modder. They would have access to their assets that they've purchased, and I'd have access to mine here, for instance. So how does that work? Gosh. Like Gary's Mods got in trouble for modders uploading like copyrighted content and stuff that can be used in the game. That's, yeah, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. All right. Did I import it? I did. We're going to share this whole thing. So we're going to drop it into mod. And this is just an example. So to showcase how like a complex project can be shared through a mod. This has got scenes. It's got things. It's got all the bits. The biddles. I don't think it has any scripts though. Which I like that. When you're getting like mod packs or asset packs like this, like I prefer them all to be kind of script free, unless like I'm expecting that functionality. But anyways, all right, let's continue. All right. So one, we have created this. We're going to upgrade these textures. That's what we're going to do. Apparently there is not a converter, so we'll just use the good old converter of no wait. Whew. I thought I'd fuck myself. That's fine. Look at this beautiful asset. This thing is gorgeous. A little corny, but gorgeous. So I'm going to hit play. So we know we're in the mod project because the interface is red. I'm hitting play because I want to show, what am I wanting to show here? Stats are ruining it. All right, from this camera angle right now, I'm going to leave the camera alone. We got 5,240 batches, 0 saved by batching. We got 1 million tries, vertices 1.7 million. We got set pass calls of 52, shadowcasters of 3,702 or 3,072. Which is good, you know. Cynthia does great work. Like all their stuff's pretty damn optimized. I don't believe it has LODs or anything though. But we're running at 300 frames per second, plus looking right here. So I've saved off that screenshot. Hopefully it's. I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole, but I'm trying to make it long. I hate having 4K monitors and they're freaking huge. Like I got two 32-inch 4Ks and like I got rid of the ultra wides because you never get like your true. They only get so tall because you gotta go so wide. It's what a lot of people don't realize about ultra wides, man. Like they're cool. Would I get one again? Like the crazy big 39-inch, like long ultra wide single monitor? No, probably not. I like to get my full 4K. I get my full resolution. Like they're always shorter height wise to accommodate for that situation. Until they have a single monitor ultra curved and then you can treat it as two individual 4Ks with full height. I actually think they have that, but it's probably $1 bajillion. And anyways, I'm getting off on tangent. Here's the stats. We've saved them. So here's the scene as is. Now I'm going to optimize this bad boy. There's a couple ways I could do this. I'm going to use Mesh Optimizer for one. Our Mesh Combiner, sorry. Very basic tool, just you grab a bunch of stuff and it combines it to a single mesh and it figures out the materials and all that. The way the stats are here, nothing's saved by batching. We got every single draw call is happening. We got a ton of shadow casters because there's so many pieces in the environment. Let me draw. This is one. Let's go back here. Another quick way you can kind of optimize things is move. All right, so now I'm going to take this this guy. Let's full screen. So here's a scene with all the pieces, the bits. There's there's a lot of them. And they're all being drawn. So a quick way to stop that is you could come here and go to batching static, but I just turn on this, so yes for everything. So it turns on all the occlusion, batching, all that shit. But the important thing is the static batching. So everybody's got static now. We're gonna hit play. Now let's look at our stats side by side. So we're at 126 batches, down from 5,240 batches. We are at 574,000 K triangles. We're at 1 million triangles here. Vertices, we're at 956. That one's, we're down 700,000 there. Set pass calls, we're less, we're half, 28 to 52. Draw, our shadow casters, we're down to 2007. So with that one little trick right there, it greatly improved. Now we're pumping 500, 600 frames per second. Because what I did is I made them static, and what happens with static batching is it kind of does an auto magic kind of combination, but it clumps everything up into a batch that's static and will render it in batches. Now there's a limit to the batch, how many you can batch or some crap, but this turns into a fraction of the draw calls, 5,000 to 5,240 batches to 126 batches. That's how much that improves. So we say 3,070 batches have been saved because we checked a checkbox. Now that's awesome, right? Easy win, easy performance gain. Why didn't everybody do that? Why didn't everybody do it? Here's why, and it's kind of sad. I really wish this wasn't red, but you see here when I select stuff in here, like it says static now. Like I'll try to get real close. See that word static? And I can't move, I can't rotate it while I'm playing, I can't scale it, can't do anything to it because it's been static batched. And basically Unity in the background took all the things that are marked static and and then batched them up and combined their meshes. So this is one big single mesh and it reduces the draw calls. So that's cool. But if you want a dynamic world, like say you want to change this, you want to do something to it, you want to move it or anything that's going to move, or you want to be dynamic, to add or empty, destroy. Obviously batching this isn't the way, but if you have a game that doesn't like this environment static and the player doesn't destroy buildings, it doesn't do this will never change, whatever, static away. Static to your heart's content. But if you want a editable level, shit like that, you gotta find another way. Anyways, we're done with that rant. That's an easy performance win if you guys are having some trouble with your scenes and you don't have a lot of crazy dynamic stuff. The scene is static. Easy win. All right, so we're in the mod. I'm trying to stay focused. I need to put a note somewhere in front of my face to keep me focused. We've had the mini city project here. Let's go ahead and static these guys again. All right. So let's save that. This is our scene. This is our mod scene. Unload. Let me think here. Sorry, braining. That's it. That's what I'm gonna do. So I've went to the mod exporter settings. I updated the icon to be like this gear thing. That is my hello. It's such a stupid name. I don't know. I was so bad at naming stuff. Um, let's in it in. I can. There we go. Some bullshit text. So this is going to be my core mod. I want to create a second mod that references that is mod core. I think I'm going to call it mod core. Sounds cool, badass. But mod core is a mod a lot of mods will probably reference. I will have anything that I don't want to be in the mod tools, but I don't know. If what's the point of me creating that mod instead of just putting in mod tools? Anyways, let's get back to it. So here's the mod info. I'm going to hit build and run, close that, exporter. Now this one should take a little longer because there's a lot of assets in it now. This is the biggest mod that I've built so far. It's including all these 3D models, textures, materials, whatnots. But it's still a tiny project compared to most. Yeah, I think the download was like 4 megs. Here, give me just a second. We're in the restroom while it's doing it. Welcome. Hello, I'm back. All right, so here's the mod. So the previous build I cut was this one, 455 KB. Now that I've included this asset, its models in here, it's 17 KB. And you can actually limit. So I need to take this mod and put it in the main project. Example. So here it is in the main project now. And I'm actually going to create a script that will I'm going to modify the tools, the build process for the mod to automatically copy that file. Actually, shit, I can tell it to just go where I want it. I did not have to copy it anymore. Huh? Let's test that real quick. The build process for that mod is actually not bad considering all the things that are in it. Again, it's not a big one either. Again, this is like a 17, 15, 5 to 10 megabyte asset download, and then unpacked fully, it's nothing. Thanks to Atlas texturing and kind of UV coloring, or vertex, or shit, I don't know what you want to call it they use, but they use like one texture dries most of all this color and scene. And the 3D, you just got the 3D models and a few textures, and that's it. But that's, so boom, it just, it actually exported it to the main game. So now I can just go back to the main game, no extra step. I've got it. Let's hit play. All right, we have core test mod and mod 001. So this were the same thing. I've renamed mod 001 to core test mod. Now if I click this, the mod serves as a comprehensive toolkit. Here's the new icon that I picked for it. I guess I picked a gear, did I? Gotta fix that length on that guy. Gotta disable the camera controller whenever I'm in here. All right, so I'm gonna load it. A lot of logs. I should dump this into a text file instead. 410 milliseconds. That's what I was after. So that's 17 KB or 17,000 KB mod is 400 millisecond load. And I think I'm doing asynchronous mod loading, and I'm doing synchronous. So I can do async, and then the UI won't lock up. So that's one improvement that we've got to do. Oh shit, I had a brilliant idea. Anyways, first let's look through our list. Look at all these prefabs. So like, look over here. You see right here? I know it's probably hard, but see right there? I'm gonna click load. Uh-oh, what's that? Is that a... whatever the hell just happened? There it is. I just loaded that from the asset pack into the scene. So I move it over here in front of them. And I click back here, open up the mods again, hit load. Kind of random where it's placing them. But anyways, I'm loading all these assets that were not part of this project into the game. It's just, oh my god, so cool. Here's all these scenes. Let's go to... oh yeah, I gotta fix that shit. Really powerful stuff, man. Honestly, it is so powerful. Like, I'm gonna make it to where this is a game that can be completely molded by the player base. In fact, you know, like I don't I don't know. My objectives with this game may have changed a little. Like, well, we'll see. I'm gonna really focus on modding though. Trust and believe that. GPU instancing. I was doing some cool stuff with that. I'll show you guys here in a little bit. So let's get back to the basics. What am I thinking? What was I thinking? Mod, yeah. The type. That's it. So it's not scenes, a unity. On scene load, on scene add. Mm. Thought I already had the classes in here, but whatever. Oh, it's JSON convert. I always get that. I keep going for serializer. It's convert. I do that all the time. Won't be the last time. Repeat it 3 times. Might as well make it a method. What all? Unity. Okay. You know what? I could take that a level further. No, no, that's not what it was. There we go. Why do I think so hard on this? There you go. You love to see it. So this is UMod browser. I guess I can do this. So whenever you click on the log, it should actually go to the UI elements. All right. I went to the trouble to save this little amount of fucking work. I'm not making this 2 lines of code. It's got to be 1. There we go. Pointless fucking little thing I did. Pointless. Why do we do these things as developers? I saw 6 lines of code and I hated it. And I just spent that a few minutes there making it 1 line in each section. So now it's 3 lines of code. Now again, I'm probably going to use this method more in other places, but as of right now, I went from 6 lines of code. So 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm 2 more lines of code with that optimization if I do not use it anymore. The lesson here is just don't get hung up on dumb shit like it. You know, life goes on. All right. I would love to know all the file types that are coming through. Shit. Do I still have it loaded? Oh, wait. It's all good. Load mod assets. So on click prefab, on load click. Where the hell do I have this method here? I will need to purge that if I don't find a reason soon. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I want to there we go. So I have access to the button. Do I have access to a button? I do not. No, wait, content button. Why do I have a content button? Do I ever use that? Without reference. Nailed it. Yeah. Let's go ahead and rename you to so we have UMod info. I want to be able to, what do I want to do? When I hit the load button, this is going to fire off. I'm going to get that mod info. On element clicks. I'm creating the element. Active selection. Setting it to this mod, which is part of UMod. Name info. I'm not get an array of IDs. Core version. All of them are strings. Except for that mask. Load mod. They're very basic info here. What's this expose? Mod version, mod name. Okay. Nothing good. What I want here is what I want. I want this is on start. Oh, wait, I think I'm trying to do this with code when I can do it with. Did those preferences just come? I'm going to make play mode a different color. I'm going to go black. Something that doesn't assault the eyes, but is, visually. Wow. That is crazy. No, thank you. Too dark. Go with the lighter gray? Well, let's just go with a readable color. I don't know. I've been operating this long without it. I think I'll be fine. Wow, it's still bad. I don't know what happened, but it ain't good. Hey, X Deco. What's up, man? Working on my video games modding system. Allowing developers or modders to use Unity to build mods for my game easily and quickly. Like here's a modders project here. When you see the star up here, this is a mod project. They would build something, they build their mod, and then they host it, and Steam Workshop, different places, uh, and then you can load it up into the game. So I'm trying to build my game with modding at the forefront. So all the systems as I go will be moddable as hell. How you doing this evening? What are you up to? That's what I'm doing. Mm, not very subtle. Just start Code Monkey's YouTube channel. He's a great asset. I'm a fan of picking a Udemy course for Unity beginners and just stick with it. Like, do the course from the start to end. Don't do a giant one that's trying to build like an MMORPG. Just like a Udemy course or Code Monkey's playlist or YouTube series. There's Code Monkey. There's a lot of good YouTubers. Jason. There's don't know a lot of them by hand. I watch so many videos though. I know their faces. I love them. It's the same. But just yeah, just do little shit. Play with little things. What I'm playing with are big, complicated, hard things, but that's what that's what gets me off. Um, so I've added modding to my game, and it's working like beautifully. Uh, so I've been polishing the mod manager here, making that interface look a lot better. If you ever modded a video game, you probably, or if it had an interface in the game, you're probably familiar with this. Boom. So what's cool about this is after you load like this mod into the game, you have this window here. You can see all the stuff inside of the mod, and you can actually load it and drop it into your game. So like here's a prop air conditioner 1. I'm gonna hit load, and boom, there's that air conditioner from the mod right there. So it's just crazy. Like anyone can use the same workflow, same tools, leverage all the power of Unity, and create mods really easily with with a few clicks in the Unity editor. Oh yeah, let's test the changes to scenes. So here's a bunch of scenes that came with the mod. Demo, endless driver, floating island. Let's load floating island. Boom. Now the mod menu does not go between scenes, so oops. But anyways, here we are. Back, we loaded this scene from the mod. So all of these assets, that the mods and stuff, is not part of this game project here. It was created over here and exported to a single file, a .umod file. And then the mod manager is able to pull that data in and create all the crap you put in it. It's beautiful, it's powerful, and it should allow players to express their creativity in an unlimited way for the game. Like, you can pretty much do anything. It's pretty cool. Anyways, keep continuing to polish. Let's see here. So my colors are garbage. Let's go to dark gray for those. Are you a beginning developer, or you've been developing, or Oh, sweet, sweet. It, is this a web page that he already owns? This is a web page he owns, or does he need to scrape the data off the web page? Because I've used Symphony or no, uh, wow, I can't think of the name right now. My stock bots use it. It's oh, it's gonna drive me crazy. Oh my god, I haven't worked on it in a long time. Selenium, Selenium. That's it. Yeah, I'm a C sharp Selenium wizard. I can pull data. Oh, if you manage the data from the website, then yeah. But yeah, I can scrape data and I can do all that stuff. I love it. Selenium was fun to play with. It was fun. Normal color, highlight color, disabled. Python, I wouldn't do it in Python. Well, let me see. What page from orders like name with name counter, which you can see the table of what people have ordered and possibly. Yeah, you could do it in Python, but I haven't done any UI work in Python. Just data modeling and different, camera vision systems and like different stuff with Python, but never really besides showing pictures or doing little simple things. I haven't built a complex form in Python. WinForms, ASP.NET, all kinds of different C sharp frameworks I've written in. Doo-doo. Yeah. Me, if it was just one quick and fast, I would just, if I've got access to the data, then I would compile it and then get it into database tables. And if I had to scrape it, I would use Selenium, scrape it, then put it in database tables. And then if I, again, for a quick interface, I'd use WinForms or something like that and just drag a data grid on there, connect to the database, bind it to the table, and boom, the data's all right there. And then you can add CRUD functionality really quickly through WinForms and the data grid. And now you got read, write, update, insert for that data table that you scraped or you populated, um, in a couple, not too long. WinForm data binding to SQL tables. You could create using that. You could do it in real quick if you know those things. But if you know Python UI crap, it's pretty easy. What was it? The Python stuff I was writing recently here is to detect different things. Where's my cache? Export. So I use Python to scan cards for a video or a card game. And then I wanted to extract all the information. So see here, it found 4, it found domino, it found energy, it found fighting. It didn't find the 7. It thought 3 was CJ, strength, intellect, and then 5. That's one thing I've been trying to extract information from like old video game or old trading card games. And then I've also been using Python to do object detection and segmentation and model training. So here it's able to detect this is paper and this is a vial and stuff like that. I'll doing all kind of crap. Tesseract, Ultralytics. I think I've used Tesseract in at some shape or form in one of these scripts somewhere. But Ultralytics, what is it here? Ultralytics, YOLO, supervision number CV2 is, badass, but Ultralytics, and then I'm using the YOLO, the you only look once, uh, object detection AI model thing. I've tried other ones too, but a lot of the ones that I've done have been with YOLO, and I think, what else did I do? Text square, count objects. Oh, I was trying to, shit. Uh, index all my video games assets, and I was going to use Salesforce's um, blip caption AI model, blip image captioning. Yeah, Salesforce. But basically, you can have this AI model look at an image and it will give you a caption back. And I was going to store those captions with my video game assets so I could search my asset database by for visual keywords and stuff. Python's pretty dope. It can do a lot of cool AI modeling shit. All right, like fast and quick and all that. Like it's yeah, real time webcam, stuff. It's so badass. It's cool stuff. But if I use C sharp for almost everything else. If I will default to C sharp 9 times out of 10 unless I'm doing something that like that. Oh yeah. Well, you're made some good progress already. You're talking about this and kind of you're talking about different pieces and stuff like so good. It's good 3 months you put in. Yeah, C++ not a good one to start with. C sharp is where C sharp or Python are good ones. I highly recommend those two. C sharp a little more than Python, just so you get that, you know, experience with a language that you can translate into other ones really fast. Java, whatever, like it's more object orientated where so you would learn all that crap and then you can still leverage the power of Python and how quick and easy things are there. Um, and leverage ChatGPT or Copilot and shit, man. Like if you got a piece of code and you just paste it in there and ask it to explain what this code is doing, or if you have like some C sharp code that you want to say, hey, can you do this code in Python? Um, Leverage the tools. It can explain code, it can help you write stuff, but also, write stuff by hand. But yeah, it is a great backseat programmer to have in your pocket. All right, back to this. Actually, I've got to go to the bathroom and refill my water. Yep, I'll be right back. Alrighty. So we're loading mods. We got a big mod loaded that has, you know, tons of stuff. I want a better way to display it because this a list of everything and they're big, long, big. I need a tree, a collapsible tree, so I can like expand, sort of like this, but it'll be like materials, prefabs, scenes. What other shit could it be? I'll have another category for that'll just dump other stuff in there, and then once something is in there, so what I need is a tree UI element. Okay. UI control. What the hell is it called? This tree. Tree views, I believe, is the one I want. UI toolkit. Okay. Unity tree view. This is UI, not in game. Hey, Zexy Fit. Xerxes. Damn it, like. I'm gonna find the thing I'm looking for. Okay, so let me explain to where we're at right now. I have reached the peak of modding excellence. The game is now crazy moddable. So like right here, this is the mod project right here. So here's the mod folder. Anything you dump in here, when you go up here and hit build mod, it's gonna package it all up and put it into a UMod file, and then it'll dump it into the main game right now is what it's set to do. And then if I hit play here, so like here's my list of mods. I'm gonna click on this one. It loads up the info about it. It shows here's the author, here's the version of the mod, here's the UMod version. The Unity version is built with because that matters. But now I'm gonna hit load, and now here's the mod browser that I've got so far, and it shows all the stuff that was just added from the mod right here. And then you can actually like spawn it in game. So like from here you can quickly like kind of test stuff or like put stuff into the game real quick. So if you look down here, there's that, and I'm going to hit load this prefab. There it is, mod spawner right there. And then all it is, like all this mod does, and I built it over here in this project, is if you hit a space bar it adds spheres randomly within a certain range. So that's the mod. I just added it to the game. And then it also has, so if we go back to the mod menu, we got the scenes. Here you can, when there's a scene in the mod, you can load it, which means it will change scenes. It'll switch from the scene you're in now to that scene. Or you can hit add and it will additively add it to your scene instead of switching scenes. So like mod 001 scene here. Go and collapse everything. I'm gonna hit add. Boom. Now it's in the scene. Boom. See that? Freaking craziness, man. Like, look at that. Just whole level popped in like bam. Yeah. All right, so that's it. Dumped that scene in there. So I loaded the sphere mod, cylinder mod, and then I loaded this scene from the mod. But modding is working. This content is not part of my video game. It came from a modder. Even though I'm the modder, it's an inside job. It's so fucking cool though. It works great. Like that took no time at all, man. So what I'm really thinking about doing is focusing on creating a really powerful sandbox to allow players to really go wild, sort of like a Gary's Mod situation, but for like a turn-based game. I'm even like contemplating, because modders could inject new character controllers and do crazy shit like that, but I'm trying to figure out. Right now I've got the turn-based stuff going on, and like basically it's kind of a Baldur's Gate vibe where you can move around freely. Then once combat starts, you're kind of locked into turns. I've done a lot of stuff there, but I realize that XCOM turn-based Final Fantasy Tactics like games aren't, the most popular in the world. And I was thinking about going, maybe steering a different direction with the character controller in combat, but what I've done is, now that I've got mods working to this point and they're this stable, I split off basically. I'm in an experiment branch of the game right now where I'm trying to play with the power of the modding system, but also play with a few other things. So like, anyways, I'm not gonna get too deep into that thought right now. I'm not gonna switch genres of game suddenly right now. But basically I could go third person. So like, well, I could go any first, third, whatever I really want to do, but I would probably use Mabler's character controller here. This guy's really amazing. All around pretty solid controller. Got a lot of great features like this, which instant huge like yes for me if you can climb. The one thing it doesn't do is let you kind of do like the jump, but there's that. There's this character controller is like a very, 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 very polished product. It is crazy good. It has so many good features. It's got flight controls, so you can fly around. Got gravity logic, so you can do stuff like this. Basically, I'm thinking about switching to this, or it's a very third-person adventure single player moddable adventure where there'll be the main adventure to play and the main game world to play in, try to survive in. But it's really going to really shine when players are able to create their own stories, their own levels, their own content, their own stuff. So I don't know. I'm thinking about, switching. This is a really good one. It has all kinds of good features already built in. Horseback riding's excellent. The animal controllers are excellent. It's got gliders, all that. Now I could take this, make this where they can mod the dog shit out of it, and now it's more of an open world action adventure game that's super moddable and gonna be kind of steered by the community. But I don't know. I want to go with a turn-based clicker kind of game and whatnot, but I know not everyone's into that kind of stuff and it is a lot slower. But I did make it a faster paced one where things move quickly. You don't have a bunch of team members. It's just you controlling a single unit trying to, tackle the room. But this thing is so good. This controller is just so amazing. Oh, yeah, I forgot another one. Physics bridge. Spider-Man. Fuck yeah. This controller is very well polished. It's so polished. I want to program the slowdown, like when in Breath of the Wild, when you aim and you're in the air, time slows down. Like I could do that in a couple lines of code, probably. Anywho, possibility that I am switching to a open third-person, open world or survival roguelike mod, or game where super moddable from the get-go. Yeah, being able to mod is just like open the floodgates, and I know I'd probably draw in a much bigger modding crowd for a game like a third-person game with movement and real-time combat versus a turn-based one. But I'm soul searching. That's what I'm saying right now. If I did pivot, it wouldn't really slow me down, or I would still have my other branch of the turn-based game, so it could continue on. I could continue it on, so I have now the most moddable turn-based game and most moddable, or well, I won't say most moddable, but heavily moddable versions of these games, and I'm really going to try to cater to the community and give them the tools they need to really drive stuff. But again, this is just all the floodgates in my brain opening up after I figured out modding. No big. All right. I was doing a lot of cool stuff here. I don't know where I set this. Let's see. So, GPU instancing. I went down the rabbit hole for GPU instancing with Unity. As you can see, here is, I think it's 5 high by 50 by 50 or something, grid of these objects. Just a crazy amount of stuff. Well, decent frame rate. I'm still pushing 100 plus frames, whatever. Now, again, this is all using one mesh and it's GPU instance. So I calculate all these matrices, and then I feed that matrix information to the GPU with the GPU instance material. And now this is basically, so look here, 11 calls, 6 shadowcasters, saved by batching, 49,000 batches. There's 108 batches to accomplish all of this. And that's crazy. That's cool as shit. Because now, like, watch what happens when I try to do this without that. So this is 50 by 50 for high. So if we go calculator, 50 times 50 times 4. So 10,000. I guess models respond if my math's right. So what I'm going to do is simulate that same thing. 50 by 50. But I got to do it. This script doesn't. Placeholder. So this would be 10 by 10. So to do 10,000, here will be 100 by 100. But no. Yeah. So since this is a 2D grid that's only got one layer, I need it to be 5,000 by 5,000? No, that's not right. My brain is mush. Well, let's just do this, because this is going to perform like shit compared to the instancing. Let's just do 30 by 30. There we go. Yeah, fuck it, we'll do more. 200. All right, so there's now let's hit play. How many did that spawn? Oh shit. There is 500 million vertices. Oh wait, shit, hold on, sorry. We got the instancing going on too. Let's disable the instancer. All right, now it's just our 200 by 200 grid, which I think I need to make. But anyway, there they are. 36 frames per second right here. Let's set the camera here. 16 frames per second. So it's actually stopped. We're going to align the camera with this view. So the test here now is, here it is with instantiated objects, which I don't even think it's as many objects as the instancing's making, because it's 4 deep at 50-50. This is 200, so that's 450s. So it'd be 2 deep. I think I need to make this 400, but I'm gonna leave it at half, because it's basically, I think, half of what the mesh instancer is doing. So let's hit play and get the numbers. I always like to get the numbers with the game window maximized, because it reduces some of the overhead. Whoops. 50 frames. 84,000 batches, saved by batching 0. Triangles 151 million, 343 million vertices. And it's honestly, it's freaking handling it like a goddamn champ. How is it doing that? I'm like almost keeping 60. Yeah, I'm like 60 frames per second, like in the middle of this, because it's distributed out so much. Okay, never mind. We're not doing the half test. We're doing the whole test. That seems to perform really well. Was not expecting that. All right, so now we did a 400 by 400 grid. 500 million, 1,218 million birds in the scene right now. Let's hit play. This may not be good for my computer. This may not be smart, actually. Jesus, I've never tried to load anything like that. My 4090 is hustling over there. Let's see how long this takes to load. Is my math right? I think my math's right. Okay. We're getting 12 frames per second. Looking out at the crowd. Flying through. Trying to get to the other side. You know. 11 frames, 12, 22, 38. Once we get like to the side. So, you know. I think that's the same amount of meshes that the instancer is going to do, but with, you know, while maintaining an amazing frame rate. So let's test that now. All right, let's delete all these guys. All right, instancer on. Hit play. So there we go. 86 million, 89 million tries. Turn verts. Hold on. 100 frames with 108 batches. 86 million tries, 203 million verts. Shadowcaster 6. So again, mesh instancing, I've learned about it and how to leverage it, but again, all those things don't have colliders. There's no physics data. There's no way to communicate back. So I can animate those guys. I can use it for large scale stuff, but I think I would have to be tracking something in the world, like invisible objects or points, to do collisions. So that's the downside of the GPU instancing. I think you got to do some stuff to kind of make collisions or figure out that stuff. Which you could use simple math instead of actually the physics engine. But yeah, again, so what I was going to use that for it was for the level. Players can spawn or build stuff. Oh, that's what, yeah, the building system. Every building part will be a GPU instance part. So when you place a building object, you place the collider, and then the GPU is going to figure out and render the actual part in a batch. Yeah. Or anyways, I'm thinking of ways to make where players, you know, performance stuff, all that. All right, what level are we in? Protocol testing. Let's do this. I need to find an awesome UI tool. Procedural UI. Data visualizations. I can tell you're a nerd when that gets you excited. No. I want a good grid to display all the mod's contents. Let's see if this has got one. got a lot of different things. Give me your grids, your collapsible list. Ooh, that looks badass. So many controls, man. Not one I don't need. Need a good way to visualize this. It doesn't have to be fancy. And this is not it. Like a tree view. And Unity does have a tree view. Oh my gosh, I can back and learn it. I know, I think that's actually just for the editors. I don't think that's for what I want. I love Metrovanias. They are badass. One day I might make one. One day. Oh, why am I even worrying about this stupid grid right now? I don't need to. That's a nice to have. It's nice to have. Do it later. It's a polish. So, what are we wanting to accomplish now? Let's go back to devs inbox. I do think I'm going to try to play more XCOM and more turn-based games in my free time to see if that's really where my head is still. Well, again, the mod manager, the mod system I built is very generic and can be applied to any project. A single player. No, I need to stop pontificating on it and just work on shit. Higher level shit. Let me think. Ding, ding, dong. What do I think? I kind of want to see what this is. What is a battle witch? How does it move? Oh, no. That is a fentanyl addict, not a battle witch. Good God. I was expecting something more elegant, a little cooler. Yeah, maybe it's still got something here. Oh, crystal ball. Oh, that's cool shit. Nothing I need, but I always like watching these animation sets. I'm tempted to buy a bunch of shit to do motion capture and like create asset studio or studio that creates motion capture assets like this and sells them. Contribute to some open source projects too, you know. It's not all about the money. Honey. Again, I am soul searching. Like, I really love that third person character controller with the Zelda Breath of the Wild climbing, and like you got animals that you can have follow, and they can actually, like a dog that can hold a sword and a weapon in his mouth and attack. It's really cool. Like, I can make it to where you switch between you and your dog. And it's all just about people creating shit. I don't know. Way too short of a shortcut. Sure, that does a lot of cool shit. You should show it off a little more. This one I haven't been tempted to look into because it would basically be what I've got built, but with multiplayer already working. Oh, it's Photon. Damn it. This is why I don't want to use Photon. Like, I don't want to use anything that's a service like this because I feel like there's gotchas, but I know I think Photon 2 is free for up to 20 CCU. So as long as I never allow players, you know, I don't want to use Photon. I want to use net code for game objects. Or mirror. I actually kind of liked mirror. Gross. I don't like it. Just bored looking at stuff now. One sec. Watch this for a moment.
Four trillion blocks, the amount of blocks currently perceptible with the naked human eye, compatible with shaders and multiplayer, with non-existent lag on my mid-range computer. And it all begins in this brand new Unity project, The block part of the block game was straightforward. Step 1 was manufacturing a script to summon millions of blocks for the terrain. Unfortunately, the game part of the block game was hard. This is literally unplayable due to the sheer quantity of objects. The solution was copious optimization. Luckily I knew a guy who watched a guy who knew how to do this. Instead of instantiating one object per block, blocks are simply stored in an array of data. This data is used to generate a single mesh, which is a three-dimensional model made of vertices joined into multitudinous triangles. Less triangles means higher performance, so the code adds 4 vertices only for faces that aren't obscured by solid blocks. Each vertex also incorporates its own information. Normals help create believable shading by specifying which direction the face is facing, and UVs are coordinates specifying which area of a texture the face should use. The completed mesh is then assigned to a chunk object to be rendered. The result is our first chunk. But more discretionary faces could be extinguished with frustum culling. Faces beyond the field of view are disregarded. Further culling is accomplished by splitting the mesh into one piece per side, so that any sides facing away from the camera are disabled. But besides reducing the vertex count, we could also optimize vertices themselves. The default vertex consumes 5 thermodynamic entropies of the sun of unused data. These are eliminated by customizing the mesh even further. And since this is a block game, vertex positions tend to be whole numbers, meaning they can be stored as the smallest data type, bytes. Now I could effectuate hundreds of chunks without causing an FPS singularity, but instead of using Minecraft's chunk system, I incorporated cubic chunks, meaning the world is infinitely explorable in all dimensions. Therefore, the height limit is non-existent, but when I continuously spawned new chunks around the camera, I was jump-scared by copious lag spikes. It appears that while chunk rendering was optimized, chunk generation was abysmal. So it was time to commence profiling. This involves spamming stopwatches everywhere to time all operations, to locate the biggest time consumers. But no matter what optimizations I used, the lag spikes prevailed. The limit now was the language itself, C#.
Rust, a memory-safe compiled programming language that delivers high-level simplicity.
C# employs numerous hidden systems to ensure the program functions safely. This causes overhead, which is essentially lag from behind the scenes. This could be solved by abusing the Burst compiler. Burst creates highly efficient programs by disabling safety measures, meaning more responsibility falls onto the programmer. And I was punished by icosohectillions of massive memory leaks and unexplainable crashes. I rewrote half of the entire project to satisfy the Burst compiler overlords. In return, chunk generation and rendering became 10 times faster. Both were now imperceptible to the human eye. But how does this perform on much higher scales? The current render distance is 4 chunks. The goal is to acquire the ordinary visibility on a clear day, 8 kilometers. So instead of writing faster code, I now needed smarter code. Rather than generate stuff faster, I would generate less stuff. Small details such as singular blocks are practically invisible beyond a certain distance. Therefore, farther chunks could get away with generating 1 block per 8 cubic meters. Even farther chunks shall have progressively lower resolution, eventually reaching a single block per chunk. Low-detail chunks are then combined to reduce the total number of objects. All of this was implemented, but I was still unsatisfied. We had to go even further with the fanciest optimization yet, greedy meshing. The idea is that adjacent squares can be combined into larger rectangles to reduce triangle count, but the implementation was extreme demon difficulty. Most tutorials were massive yapocalypses discussing abstract math and theoretical theories. I found actual code on Reddit of all places, which I used as inspiration for my own algorithm. After a few unexplainable disasters and bizarre catastrophes, the greedy mesher was now functional. By combining all optimizations so far, I could finally exhibit stupendous quantities of terrain. But while I had technically achieved my goal, The sheer quantities of chunk generation at the start of the game caused abysmal lag. This is because all chunk generation runs on the main thread by default. Since frame updates also occur on the main thread, the game freezes until all other operations are completed. This is single threading and its consequences, but by abusing Unity's job system and C#'s task system, chunk generation was banished to a different thread, while the results were sent back later to be rendered. The result was that the main thread was cured of lag, if only there was actual terrain. Currently, the height at each point is determined by Unity's default Perlin noise function, but this was a poorly made function. Therefore I fabricated my own by plagiarizing code from Wikipedia's Perlin noise article, which has been expunged for absolutely no good reason, a symptom plaguing all Wikipedia articles. My Perlin noise could be improved by adding more Perlin noise, each one having higher scaling. The result is more rugged grasslands, but instead of making the height equal to the Perlin noise, it could be 2 to the power of the Perlin noise. This exponential function creates a mix of grasslands and mountain ranges on the distant skyline. This could be further improved by effectuating trees to obtain vast landscapes of forests stretching into the distance. However, this is still barely a game due to the disheartening lack of gaming, and what better gaming to add than the mining part of Minecraft. This requires knowing which block is in front of me simply from my facing direction and world data. For this, I sought help in the 9th layer of the internet, forums. Programming forums are rather infamous for harboring internet micro-professionals, a close cousin of the internet micro-celebrity. But there is the occasional real answer. This individual procured several essays on finding which blocks overlap with a line of sight, until he tragically vanished. So I continued this theory to assemble my own schizopost, also known as pseudocode, a helpful stepping stone to visualize ideas.
It's cool. I love watching shit like this. Because again, like right now, I'm considering how to draw my world. I think he's kind of pointing
before
the way.
making the real algorithm. Now that mining and placing were invented, the trifecta was nearly completed. I only needed a gamer now. Now introducing this 1.152 cubic meter convex polyhedron game object. Player movement was easily effectuated, but adding gravity caused disastrous consequences. I needed collision detection between players and blocks, which was accomplished with the same block detection methods used for mining. But after some contemplation, I realized the conspiracy theories linking factorial and software engineering were factual. But now that I had a gamer, this begs the question of whether it was possible to have multiple gamers using multiplayer. The server didn't need to be anything fancy. My server is simply a constantly running program that sends and receives data to ensure all players are synchronized. However, only ones and zeros can be sent through the network, meaning the server must convert outgoing game information into bytes. I was clueless as to how so-called AAA games decrease in awfulness, and another render pipeline feature to add was the God Ray effect. Technically, objects from the camera. Found this pro God hacker tutorial covering 59 in the easy. Left-clicking this op has only covered approximately 25% of the actual effort spent on this game. Development shall probably continue.
Anywho, what are we gonna do? Let's see here. Let's see here. Let's kick some tires. All right. So whoops. So I got modding working. I got There's a lot of big design decisions I gotta make right now that, like, world size, how I'm gonna handle levels and scenes. Like, I think I'm gonna restrict levels to 50 by 50. What is this? This is a hundo by hundo. Pathfinding on a large grid like that can be crazy. Now, if I was what should I get working? I can the events. I think I'm gonna get it to where modders can respond to player events. Anytime the units do something, they can write some code to do things. Yeah. I think that's it. Need to, like, there's a lot I can work on, but just let's get it to where the mod can place a block in the game. That's it. We're gonna work towards the place block interaction working from the modders side, so modders can place a block in the world. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it. Mm.
The previous videos, we have set up our Unity project.
What I want is, like they were talking about in that one video, when
hex grid and hex metrics.
after you update the grid level, like I'll rebuild the mesh.
Procedural mesh generation is a powerful tool in game development. Instead of manually creating complex 3D models, we can use code to generate them automatically. This can save a lot of time and allows us to create more complex and dynamic environments. This is of course one option. Later we will explore the other option, with building a map from a set of pre-designed tiles. In our turn-based strategy game, we are using a grid of hexagons as our game map. To create this hexagonal grid, we are going to use a script that we have called HexGrid Mesh Generator. This script is responsible for generating the mesh of our hex grid. Our HexGrid Mesh Generator script works by using the properties of our hex grid, such as its width, height, and hex size, to calculate the vertices of each hexagon in the grid. It then uses these vertices to create triangles, which are the building blocks of any 3D mesh. The resulting mesh is then applied to the mesh filter and mesh collider components of our game object. The HexGrid Mesh Generator script also provides functionality for clearing the HexGrid mesh. This is useful for when we want to regenerate our hex grid with different properties. The script contains several public methods that allow us to create a hex mesh with different parameters. We can create a hex mesh by specifying the width, height, hex size, orientation, and layer mask. We can also create a hex mesh by specifying a hex grid and a layer mask. In our HexGrid Mesh Generator script, the first thing you'll notice is the require component attribute at the top. This attribute automatically adds required components as dependencies. In our case, it ensures that our script's game object has a mesh filter, mesh renderer, and mesh collider component. If these components are not present, Unity will add them automatically. This is particularly useful because our script relies on these components to generate and display the mesh. The awake method is a special Unity method that is called when the script instance is being loaded. It's commonly used to set up references between scripts and to initialize variables. It's best to use awake to define any dependencies between scripts, set up references, or initialize variables that need to be ready as soon as the game starts. In our awake method, we're checking whether hex grid is null. If it is, we're trying to find a hex grid component on the parent of our game object. If we still can't find a hex grid, we're logging an error. This is a good practice as it allows us to ensure that our script always has the references it needs to function properly. Now, let's look at the create hex mesh method. This is one of the public methods that we'll be calling from our editor script. It's an overload that uses the properties of our hex grid to create the mesh. When we press the create mesh button in our custom editor, this method will be called. The clear hex mesh method is also public and will be connected to our editor script. It's responsible for clearing the mesh from our game object. It does this by accessing the mesh filter and mesh collider components of our game object and clearing the mesh. If there is no mesh to clear, the method simply returns and does nothing. When we press the clear mesh button in our custom editor, this method will be called. These methods make it easy for us to create and clear our hex mesh at the press of a button directly from the Unity editor once we create a custom editor. Let's dive deeper into the create hex mesh method. This is where the magic happens, where we actually generate our hexagonal grid mesh. The method begins by calling clear hex grid mesh, which ensures that we're starting with a clean slate. Then it calculates the total number of vertices needed for the entire grid. Each hexagon in the grid has 7 vertices, 1 at the center and 1 at each corner. So, the total number of vertices is 7 times the width of the grid times the height of the grid. Next, we create an array to hold all of these vertices. We then loop through each cell in the grid. For each cell, we calculate its center position using the hex metrics. Center method. We store this center position in the array, and then we calculate the positions of the corner vertices by adding the results of the hex metrics. Corners method to the center position. Once we have calculated all of the vertices, we need to create the triangles that make up each hexagon. Each hexagon is made up of 6 triangles, and each triangle is defined by 3 vertices. So, we create an array to hold all of these triangles, with a total length of 3 times 6 times the width of the grid times the height of the grid. We then loop through each cell in the grid again. For each cell, we define the 6 triangles that make up the hexagon. Each triangle is defined by 3 indices into the vertices array, 1 for the center of the hexagon, 1 for a corner, and 1 for the next corner. The corner index is calculated to loop back to the first corner after reaching the last one.
Hi, I'm Tim, co-founder of Check as platforms, and with only these now for the grass and that kind of stuff. And how we create this, because this would take a long time to create by placing it manually. And if you've ever, so the first thing I think is the height map generator, which is running basically first, and it goes into here the texture height mapper, and this is the very first step. Really easy. You have your 2D texture that you just load, and then here in 2 for loops, you just go through each pixel of the texture. You get the color, and since it's just a black and white image, we can only read from the red value of the color, and we're setting the height from that. So how we're doing this is because the color, it could be anything, right, from 0 to 1. But we want to have everything like on a grid because it's like tile based. So we have in a setting, we have specified like the step size, like what here we just have a bunch of different tiles basically that just make up our 3D tile map. So the first thing is this one. It's just a cube, right? It's the cube you also saw here for the ground. You don't need anything, just a cube, that's fine. You could put stuff on it as well, right? But for us, we just wanted a different cube. But now for the wall, the whole point of walls is that it always needs to be like tileable, right? And with a cube, it's really simple to have it tileable, right? You just, you can just put it like this and it works perfectly. But with a wall, you have to be, you have to be a bit more careful. So let's check out. This is how our wall looks like, basically. So yeah, we can put it right next to each other a bunch of times, and you don't really see the transition, especially in Unity with the materials we add. You don't see a transition, and you could even place it on top of each other. Whoops, I have to duplicate first. Place it on top of each other, and of course here you do see it, of course. But again, if you look at it from afar, and it also depends on the art style, for us this worked quite nicely. But for us it was really important that when placing them right next to each other, that it's basically seamless. So let's have a look in Unity. I mean, you can see that it follows a grid, but I would say it's pretty much seamless, right? So how you can do this, maybe I can just show that real quick. Let's just create a new one, right? Why shouldn't we? So I'm just gonna create a cube.
Yeah, I gotta come up with some kind of mesh combining system or whatever. Eventually, for now, I'll just deal with it. But the level editor is gonna have to combine shit. Yeah. Having trouble picking a target or what to do next. I don't support a gigantic map. I gotta approach it right. Because technically, the way my system works right now, Pathfinder and all that jazz, I have multi-levels, but it's only a single grid. And your height is derived from your Y coordinate. And you transform, but I only have one grid, so I only got to deal with placing stuff like that. But then, because it's a 2D grid, there's no... I gotta focus on nailing down some core architectural design decisions here soon. Like, if I want to focus on the level editor, but for now, we'll. Maybe I'll take a break. I'm gonna eat. I may stream again here in a little bit. But I'm trying to think of what it is I'm after. I'm very excited by this modding capability. And like again, my skill level has increased so much. Like now I can do I can do about anything in Unity and whatnot. I can implement all kinds of shit. But But I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna take a break and think about it because I don't want to. Because I've got modding working, but do I want to build out all this infrastructure or all these interfaces and stuff against a turn-based game like this? Or do I want to do a more? It's not like I'm throwing like again. This kind of a branching thing. Like I can continue on the turn-based project, but I can also leverage this modding system with a more exciting system for the modern gamer. I love turn-based though and strategy and shit. But I could really fly through some shit with third person, not having to deal with all the restrictions of the tiles and all that. And well, give players a really moddable character controller that can ride horses, get in vehicles, shoot, glide, fly, tons of shit. I don't know. I'm soul searching right now just because I've gotten mods so established and to a point where they're at. ADHD. All right, I'm gonna get off here for now. I might be on there again.